and you can watch Good Things. We are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. And today we get to talk with renowned guitarist Adam McPhail. He is a Hattiesburg native, and he will be at the Maxim Meridian in a few weeks to give some of his guitar lessons. So welcome, Adam.
Hi, how are you doing?
I am doing well, and I'm excited to finally coordinate our schedules to get you here on Good Things. It's been a little time coming, so I'm so happy to have you today. But, okay, so you're a Hattiesburg native. Give us sort of your Mississippi roots story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Hattiesburg. I was there from the time I was born until I was 22. I grew up, went to Oak Grove all throughout, lower elementary, middle school, high school. And then I went to the University of Southern Miss, where I studied jazz studies, guitar. And then, so when I was about 22, I moved to Nashville, and I've been here ever since.
Southern Miss to the top, Adam. Southern Miss to the top.
That's right.
Yes. There's a building there named after or should be a building there named after my dad for as many years
as
it took me to get a degree. No, not really. He would think so for the amount of money he spent for me to get my degree there. But yes, Southern Miss to the top for sure. Okay. When's the first time that you put a guitar in your hands?
So first time I was about 13 years old. It was right before my 13th birthday.
So that is the first time you picked up a guitar. Who handed it to you?
Well, my dad bought it for me, and I guess I'm lying. I had tried my hand at guitar when I was like maybe 9 years old or something, but it didn't. I didn't take it seriously, and that lasted like maybe a week or two. But when I actually started pursuing the guitar was right before my 13th birthday, and my dad bought me a little Squier Stratocaster, and so my dad was the one who got me my first guitar.
So I read the story or heard the story at 13 years old. You were chosen to perform with B.B. King. So how does someone who hadn't even had the guitar in their hands for maybe a year intentionally wind up performing with one of the greatest?
Well, I think I had a natural knack for the guitar, but also I owe a lot of my early success to a man named Kerry Hudson, who's also a Mississippi native, and he was my guitar teacher from the time I'd been playing guitar for about 3 months to maybe 8 or 9 months or so. But when I played with BB, I'd only been playing guitar about 8 or 9 months or so. But, Kerry taught me how to play the blues, and, honestly, I just had a really natural, knack for the guitar, I guess. So I would just sit in my room and play guitar for literally from the time I got home from school, which is, 3:30 p.m. or so, until 10 or 11 at night, until it was time for bed. So even though I had only been playing for, 8 or 9 months, the amount of hours I had put in were, in the thousands. So just a lot of hard work, and I guess just a natural knack for the instrument. But I fell in love with blues guitar, and, in my earlier years, I pretty much primarily played blues, classic rock, and heavy metal, but blues was my main thing. So I would just play blues all the time, listen to B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan and all those guys, and I would just learn from them and watch videos on YouTube, and I was just completely enamored by it.
Was it when B.B. kind of gave you the nod or the tip of the hat, Adam, that you were like, okay, maybe I could, do something with this past just it being a hobby? Or had you already sort of known, like, hey, this is just going to be the track my life is going to go down. I'm obsessed with this thing. I don't know what else I would do.
Well, I think it was when B.B. King kind of gave me his endorsement that, both I and my family, realized that this could actually be something that I'd do for a career. So I think after that, I took it even more seriously, and my dad was always driving me around to various shows. He would always go out and meet local musicians, and he would, I'd get invited to go play, and even BB introduced me to one of his friends by the name of Jesse Jackson. And so when I was, 14 years old, I'd be playing and, getting invited to play in blues clubs like Hal & Mal's and Jackson and just various places, getting to go sit in with these elderly, not elderly, but, older blues players. And, so it was a, kind of when he gave me his endorsement that I realized that it could be something, and I just never looked back.
You have never looked back. So when you decided to leave Mississippi and head to Nashville, what was the big dream? Was it to be part of a band or to create a band, or was it more of, I'm not really sure, Adam, what past being in a band a guitarist can do? So, and that's our limited knowledge, right? You think you just have to be part of something that's traveling. So did you know kind of where your career would go, or were you just sort of open to whatever was coming?
I was open to whatever was coming. I knew I wanted to make my living with the guitar somehow. So, a great thing I did was I went to grad school at Belmont University. And that was, in my mindset was, okay, at the very least, after 2 years, I'll have a master's degree and I could teach guitar at the university level. And that's if nothing else happened, So I'm like, okay, I'm going to move to Nashville. Absolute worst case scenario in 2 years is I get a master's degree. But luckily, I ended up, while I was in grad school, getting a bunch of gigs, and I would tour with bands. And, there were times where I'd have to miss grad school for 2 weeks straight or something because I was out on the road playing. And luckily, the school I went to was very accepting of that and very encouraging of me to go on the road and tour and, record albums and this and that. So, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, but once I got to the town, things kind of took off. In my first couple months, I'd already landed some pretty steady work, and I was getting a lot of gigs. And then, once I graduated from Belmont, they immediately hired me as a adjunct professor of guitar there. So I did that, 1 day a week, 1 or 2 days a week, and I was playing for a church consistently, but I was touring with my band Dynamo, and I would tour with various country artists and things of that sort. And then I started getting into the studio thing. So it all just kind of fell in place for me.
On your website, Adam McPhail Music, you have a laundry list of really pretty cool names of who you've gotten the opportunity to play with. Who are some of the top that when it happened, you were like, oh my gosh, this is real life?
So obviously, B.B. King, he was, I don't know that I'll ever get a bigger name on my resume than him, so I'm super grateful for that. But, some other notable names, recently I got to play with Victor Wooten, and, he's not necessarily commercially famous, but in the musician world, he's literally like an innovator at the bass guitar. And that's somebody I grew up idolizing, watching him on YouTube. And so that one is pretty special to me. To numerous gospel artists, CeCe Winans, that was really fun playing with her. One of my favorites too was I got to play with Kirk Whalum, who's a saxophonist, and he jazz and smooth jazz and blues influenced, and he was somebody I really listened to a lot throughout college. And I think he's from Memphis, and I got to play with him, and that was quite the honor. Shirley Caesar, she's like, they call her the queen of gospel music. So, it's like I got to play with, B.B. King, who's the king of blues, and I got to play with the queen of gospel music. And Shirley Caesar has won numerous awards, and she was in the Caravans and all kind of famous groups. And I got to play with her for the 50th anniversary of the GMA Dove Awards. And so that was very special. And I've been very blessed to share the stage with a lot of reputable people, and I'm truly grateful for that.
Is there one on your bucket list, Adam? I know that may not top the King, B.B. King, but that maybe you would still have your hopes out for to collaborate with or be able to play guitar for?
Man, one that's always been in my mind was like Stevie Wonder somehow. I don't know how in the world that would ever happen, but that would be the one that would just completely complete everything for me. But
well, I know he listens to good things, so we'll make sure his people know that Adam McPhail would like to. I can't even do it with a straight face, Adam. But hey, you never know who's listening that may have serious music connections. So
you never know.
You absolutely
tuned in right now.
Yeah, he may even show up at the Max and to sort of see when you come down to sort of give a few lessons, which I know that's coming up quick. Can you stick with us, Adam?
There we go.
Can you?
What's that? Sorry,
I said, can you stick with us through this break?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we got more with Adam McPhail. Guitars coming up next. FM. We're also streaming from the SuperTalk Mississippi app. You can always find us, too, on your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. But you're listening to guitarist Adam McPhail as we come back into good things here. You can hear him or see him at the Max in Meridian coming up in a couple of weeks. You will be leading a guitar workshop. What will you be doing at the Max, Adam?
Yeah, so on Friday, February the 9th, I'll be performing. So the Max is launching a new guitar exhibit, and it's called America at the Crossroads, the Guitar in a Changing Nation. So obviously I haven't seen it yet. I don't know how many people have, but they're going to have some really historic pieces of music equipment and memorabilia and things of that sort that, were related to influencing great guitarists such as B.B. King and Van Halen and Robert Johnson, Albert King, people of those stature, but they're launching the museum, and for that, from 5 to 6:30, I believe, I'll be just kind of playing guitar, just tucked away in the corner while people walk through the exhibit and, get to see all the cool pieces of gear. I'll just be somewhat of entertainment and just playing guitar, and then, just literally whatever I feel like playing, no set, songs or anything, just kind of going with the flow. And then the next day, on Saturday, I believe from 10 to 11, I'm doing a guitar workshop where I'll be discussing primarily rock and roll and blues guitar. So I'll be discussing, different techniques to play with and the evolution of the instrument and different styles and just kind of whatever happens. I'm hoping people engage and ask me questions because that always makes workshops go a lot easier. So I'm not just talking at them for an hour. They're kind of going back and forth with me. But, just kind of talking all things rock and roll and blues guitar on that day.
Is that something, Adam, that people interested listening to good things would need to sign up for prior? Do they need to bring their own guitar? How would they best sort of get prepared for that?
So I think they could show up because it'll be open to the public that day for the guitar workshop, I believe. I think you can go on the website. I'm actually on the website now, and there's a RSVP here link, so you can go to either thing and RSVP online. So if you just go to msarts.org, I think you can RSVP there. But yeah, if they're coming to the guitar workshop, I would encourage them to bring a guitar in case they want to kind of pull it out and try, something I'm teaching them, try it on the spot, because otherwise it's just they're kind of imagining it or visually just seeing me do it. So I would love for them to bring guitars.
How many guitars do you own, Adam?
Oh, man.
Putting you on the spot.
I would say around maybe 24, 25 or so.
Do you have any that are collectibles that, even though the Max may not have asked you, they could borrow them for the exhibit? I'm not giving them any ideas, Adam, but that you would say, this is more of a collector's item from your perspective and love of guitar than something that you would utilize in a show?
I have all of them I pretty much play. I mean, in terms, not necessarily, there is one that I have. It's a limited edition Jim Croce master-built Epiphone Elitist guitar, and there were only 55 of them made. And so, long story short, the owner of Gibson Guitars, the previous owner, I think his name was Dave Berryman or something of that sort, we had a mutual friend, and that guy, the owner of Gibson at the time, ended up giving this guitar to a buddy of mine named Mark Oswald. And Mark Oswald is big time guy in the music industry, and he is the manager for Big and Rich and Jewel, and he's done all these great things in his career, producing TV shows. I mean it just goes on and on and on. And I was doing a TV show performance with Mark's wife, and we were kind of doing like a kind of a pilot type thing, if you will, but some corporate members from Ally Bank were there because they were planning on sponsoring the TV show, and Mark ended up giving me the guitar that day. So there's only 55 of those in the world. So I'd say that's probably the closest thing I have to a collector's. The guitar that I played with B.B. King, to me, that's a collector's piece. If I ever lost that or it ever got damaged, I'd be completely devastated, but in terms of, I don't have too many like vintage per se guitars, because a lot of my guitars I bought when I was younger, and this is, I'm doing well in my career now, but the early years of a musician life are kind of a struggle. So I don't know that I had the budget to buy a bunch of vintage guitars, but I'd say that one is my closest.
That's a pretty cool one. Do you still have the first one your dad
really
gave you? Do you still have that first guitar?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So those two, the one I played with BB, and then my first guitar, are the most sentimental pieces to me. And I do have like in terms of amplifiers, I have like a 1969 original twin reverb, which is a really sought after amplifier. So that's somewhat collectors as well.
That's pretty cool. Okay, Adam, I know during COVID, like so many other musicians, you had to pivot. And boy, we hadn't said that word in a long time. We got tired of saying it. But this really was a turn for you in your career and kind of what you're doing now. So how did that transition your professional career?
So during COVID, I was actually very blessed because, though I do perform a lot, I play a lot of live gigs. I travel and perform and fly to different places, and I do a lot of recording. Both of those things essentially stopped when COVID started, like literally overnight, gone, And so I was fortunate that I was teaching at the time. I was teaching at Belmont University, and I actually teach at Lipscomb University now. For a period of time, a few years, I was teaching at both schools. I was teaching at Belmont and Lipscomb, and had all my live gigs and my session work. So I was extremely busy. But then, so once COVID started, I was just teaching at Belmont and Lipscomb online. So I had to get my setup, because I wanted it to be a little more professional than just, your laptop microphone or things of that sort. So I got a webcam, and I got my interface hooked up to where I had really good audio, and I was sending them. I had a vocal microphone, and I had spotlights on me, and I had, my guitar going directly to them, and I could record it. And, I just kind of got my online setup a little more to a professional standard. But, I was very blessed because a lot of my friends who didn't have teaching were really going through a hard time because, all their work had gone away. But luckily we had, I think, 2 months left in the semester. So I had a little bit of time to figure out some things. So that was definitely a pivot, kind of going from teaching, performing, and recording to just teaching. So what I did there was I started really utilizing my Instagram, and I started doing sponsored ads and posting a lot more videos of me, and I built a pretty decent following. I have probably 11,000 followers or so on Instagram, and I started getting hit up for a lot of guitar lessons because, with COVID, everybody's stuck in their house. So a lot of people wanted to learn how to play guitar because it's something you can teach virtually. So not only was I teaching at Belmont and Lipscomb, but I was teaching private lessons, and I got to where I literally had so many students. And for a while there in COVID, I was making more money than I ever had in my entire life because I was teaching so many guitar lessons, and believe it or not, my private rate is actually more than I would get paid in a university setting. So that's kind of how I pivoted. I just embraced the teacher thing, and I rode that out until COVID allowed us to start playing live again.
And you obviously miss playing live as so many musicians did. Adam, you said you were kind of a natural or had a knack for the guitar the first time you picked it up. Does that make it harder to teach it to other people who it may not come as easy to, or have you found ways to sort of help folks figure it out? Because I could see where that could be frustrating.
Yeah, I think one thing teaching has taught me is a lot of patience. And I think over the years I've gotten very good at knowing how to approach. It takes me maybe a lesson or two to kind of figure out, not completely, but somewhat figure out how someone's mind works, kind of see what works for them. But I don't think it's a hindrance because a lot of the people I teach do have a great knack for it as well. Especially the kids I'm teaching in college, a lot of them are really great players. But for somebody who's more of a beginner, I don't think it's a hindrance at all. It's just, maybe I have to be a little more patient, But honestly, I don't really teach many beginners I kind of keep it to like intermediate and advanced players.
Well, we've got more with Adam McPhail coming up next here on Good Things. Don't forget, we are streaming live over at supertalk.fm. We're also streaming from the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Hope you've downloaded that. You can always find us, too, on your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. But you can find our guest, Adam McPhail. He's going to be at the Max in Meridian on February the 9th and the 10th. If you come on the 10th from 10 to 11 a.m., he will be hosting a guitar workshop. He wants you to bring your guitar and come and have a good time. I do see it's free to the public, but you may have to register for his group, and we will put that in the Good Things Facebook group, Adam, so folks listening, if they want easy access on how to sign up for that. We were talking about the fact that you give lessons. You're kind of more into the intermediate and advanced, but I have read where there's a lot of younger musicians that now look up to you, where you were that 13-year-old guitarist who was looking up to the likes of like B.B. King. So do you take great pride, or I guess great responsibility, should I say? I'm sure you're proud of it, when young artists look to you kind of in the same way?
Absolutely. It's an incredible honor for, because I help mentor a lot of young musicians, and it really is an honor when they're calling upon me to help them with advice and, serious career decisions they have to make. And to be in that position for someone to look up to me, even at a younger age, I'm only 31 at this point, so for what I've been able to do in my career, I'm very blessed for that, and I'm blessed for people to look up to me as well, absolutely.
I think you have like the best gig as a musician. I've always said I never wanted to be like the lead singer. I feel like that's way too much pressure. Everybody knows you, but it would be really cool to kind of like be part of the band, and you get to like do all the cool stuff, but like still maybe get to go to your local grocery store or out to eat without completely being, mobbed. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like you kind of hit the jackpot in terms of what you've been able to do with your career, being kind of a chameleon?
Honestly, yes. I have such a diverse set of things I do. I'm never doing the same thing over and over again. I get to being a sideman. I've got to play with a bunch of very, very respectable and very amazing artists, and I love doing that. And I love meeting people and playing different styles of music, and I love teaching, and I love getting to record in various styles. So I think it's a lot of fun. That I get to do so many things and at such a great level, and I'm very fortunate for that. And, I'm definitely someone who likes diversity in my life, so I enjoy that a lot.
We may have parents listening, or even kids, Adam, that just got picked up from school and car out or line to Good Things, and they're into music, and their parents may think, oh, what can you do with a music degree past being, a music teacher? Although that would, like you said, worst case scenario, you would get to, teach at a college, which someone has to teach those that aspire to do other things. But what do you say to like parents or kids who are interested in making a profession out of this? How do you encourage them, even if, how do you encourage them?
Well, to be completely transparent, you're kind of spot on with music degrees, that can lead to teaching. With graduate degrees, you can teach maybe at the high school level, but if you want to go farther, and teach at the collegiate level, you might need to get a master's degree or a doctorate degree. So that's definitely one option. But, to be completely honest, and this is just my opinion, but moving much past teaching, having a music degree is not always 100% necessary. A lot of just getting in the music industry, if you're wanting to, be a side man or side woman and get out there and just play gigs and get in the industry, you're never really going to get asked for credentials in terms of education. That's really only an academic setting type of thing. So, but I would encourage them to always study their instrument, always try to get better, but also to study the business of music, because, you can be the best player in the world. And, the ceiling for musicians really is, limitless. There's so many amazing things you can do, and I feel like there's a stereotype where all musicians are broke, and that's just like not the case at all. I've been able to have a very fruitful career, and I think it's very important to study the business of music, because like I said, no matter how good of a player you are, if you don't know how to promote yourself and how to start a business and how to monetize off of your craft, then it can be a harder life, So I think seeing the bigger picture, being smart with your finances, knowing how to navigate networking and marketing yourself and just all the different facets of the business, I think it's often overlooked by young musicians. And that's what I would really encourage them, because if you're savvy with that kind of thing, you can really have a great career.
No disrespect to our alma mater of USM, but Delta State's doing a really great job of opening up opportunities to teach young musicians the music side of it. So there's definitely opportunities in the States for kids to sort of learn not only their instrument, but then all the other parts that come along with the career as well. I think it's just letting for parents, just let your kids do what they're sort of passionate about and interested to, and, a way will pave itself if it's sort of meant to be. Adam.
Absolutely. Sorry to cut you off, but I used to go to summer camps at Delta State. I used to go to summer camps, and they used to teach summer music programs, and I went there 2 years in high school, and so I'm very familiar with Delta State, and the teachers there, like Barry Bays is a good friend of mine, and Trisha Walker used to teach there, and she's a great leader down in the Delta, songwriter and just, great influential member of the community. And so I love Delta State, and I actually almost went to Delta State, but I ended up opting to go to Southern Miss.
That's okay. To the top. It's Delta Music Institute. I knew it was DMI, but I couldn't remember the name of it. So that's the Delta Music Institute, Arts and Science there at Delta State University. Okay, I've got a little wager, Adam, with one of our good listeners, Jeff in Pontotoc. He's on our text line, and he wanted to know who's your favorite guitarist of all time. And we've got, no real money on it to see what you will say. And I know that's a big question for someone like you, but who would you say your favorite, not the best, but your favorite guitarist of all time is, Adam?
I'm going to go with B.B. King.
Got it.
That's going to be my answer every time.
I knew it. And they had mentioned, since we're betting, Stevie Ray Vaughan or others. Okay, so if it wasn't BB, obviously he takes this top spot as your favorite. I won that bet fair and square, Jeff, just so you know. But who would be some of the others that fall in your laundry list of favorite? Maybe not best, but just favorite.
I'd say Zakk Wylde from Black Label Society was a big influence of mine. Van Halen, but in the jazz side of things, I really loved Grant Green. But Stevie Ray Vaughan was, probably one of my biggest influences as a player when I was a kid. That's probably some of the main ones. And even my teachers from earlier years. But I'd say B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Zakk Wylde, Eddie Van Halen, Grant Green. That's honestly such a hard question sometimes, because I have studied literally so many guitarists and so many styles of music that sometimes when I get put on the spot like this, it's like the names, like there's like so many. It's so convoluted in my brain that I forget a bunch of people, But that's kind of the ones that were the biggest influence on me as a kid.
Did you ever play around with any other instruments, or do you play any other instruments besides the guitar, Adam?
I play bass guitar, and throughout high school, I played drums, and never anything serious, just kind of messing around. And I actually played trumpet in the band at school as well, but I stopped that around 10th grade once I got really serious about the guitar. So I played bass guitar technically, but it's not really something that I promote unless I'm doing like recording sessions or something of that sort, because I might record like guitar and bass for somebody, but pretty much at this point in my life, it's pretty much just guitar.
I always felt like that there would be an option for me to play the tambourine just one time and something that was recorded. I feel like that's about the only instrument I might could get right. I'm sure anybody who plays it is probably like, you have no idea how much more difficult it is than it actually sounds. But Adam, if someone wants to follow along with your career, if they want to hear your music or support you in any way possible, where can they find you online?
So the best place to probably follow me, where I'm the most active, would be Instagram. My Instagram is just adam.mcphail, McPhail. And I'm probably the most active on there, posting my gigs and videos, and honestly, I need to be better about posting more. But I'm so busy all the time that sometimes I forget to do that. But and then any time, my website has a bunch of videos of me and pictures and just all the information,
Well,
So
I
think,
appreciate your time today, Adam. If you're ever in the central area, bring your guitar into the studio. I'd love to chat with you again. But good luck there in the Meridian. That's on February the 10th at the Max. We'll link that into the Good Things Facebook group for folks. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.